everybody, welcome to Abu Smart YouTube channel. Baga gara Abu Smart YouTube channel itinagaan dhuftani video kanaan dura ture keessatti why sequence, definition of sequence, number sequence keessatti definition of sequence akkasumas immoo notation of sequence laallee turre. Notation of sequence jechuun sequence akkaataa kamiin ibsuu dandeenya kan jedhu kana laallee turre. Sanas akkamitti ilaalle maal jenne sequence tokko listing termiidhaan ibsuu ni dandeenya, graafiidhaan ibsuu ni dandeenya, akkasumas immoo general termiidhaan ibsuu ni dandeenya. Inni dhumaa immoo maaliidhaan ibsuu ni dandeenya? Recurrence relationiidhaan ibsuu ni dandeenya jechuudha. Within this lecture video, we are going to discuss about Fibonacci sequence, and also we discuss about general term of Fibonacci sequence. Then we discuss the problem given in exercise 1.1 in your textbook. In previous lecture video, we see the number sequence, also we see the definition of sequence, and we discuss about notation of sequence. Under notation of sequence, we see how we can describe the sequence. We can describe the sequence by listing terms of sequence. The other way of describing sequence is by plotting or drawing a graph, by plotting graph of the sequence, by plotting graph of sequence. The third one is by general term of sequence, by general terms of sequence. And the last one is by finding the recurrence relation, or we can describe the sequence by recurrence relation. By recurrence relation, the best example of recurrence relation sequence is Fibonacci sequence. Or when we describe the sequence in recurrence relation, we have to have initial condition before we find the formula of sequence within recurrence relation. We have to have initial condition. When we see Fibonacci sequence, the formula for recurrence relation of Fibonacci sequence is f of n, which is equal to f of n minus 1 plus f of n minus 2 when n is an element of natural number, and f1 is equal to 1 and f2 is equal to 1 is taken as initial condition for Fibonacci sequence. When this is a formula of recurrence relation, that means when we expressed the Fibonacci sequence within recurrence relation, the recurrence relation formula for Fibonacci sequence is this one. When we express any sequence within or by recurrence relation, we have to have initial condition. In this Fibonacci sequence, our initial condition is f1 is equal to 1 and f2 is equal to 1. Then n must be greater than or equal to 3. That means n is start from 3 in this Fibonacci sequence, because 1 and 2 is given as initial condition. Then from this, let us see the Fibonacci sequence when n is start from 3. f f of 1 and f of 2 is given for us. Then when we find f of 3, when we take at the place of n3, this becomes f of 3 minus 1 means f of 2 plus f of 3 minus 2 is 1, which is equal to 1 plus 1, which is equal to 2. Then the f of 4 is equal to f, when we substitute at the place of n4, f of 3 plus f of 2. f of 3 means 2 plus f of 2 means 1, which is equal to 3. Then f of 5 is equal to f of 4 plus f of 3, which is equal to f of 4 means 3 plus f of 3 means 2, which is equal to 5. Then by this pattern, according to this pattern, the Fibonacci sequence is, when we conclude, the Fibonacci sequence is 1, 1, 2, 1 plus 1, 2, 1 plus 2, 3, 2 plus 3, 5, 8, 5 plus 8, 30, 21, 34 extra. Then when we find this Fibonacci sequence by this formula, we have to know the previous two terms of the Fibonacci sequence. That means when we, for example, when we find the fifth terms of Fibonacci sequence, we have to know the fourth and third Fibonacci sequence terms. Therefore, to find f of 100s, we have to know f of 98 and f of 99's term. Therefore, we have to list all terms of this Fibonacci sequence. Therefore, to simplify such that problem, we have to find general terms of or general formula for this Fibonacci sequence. Let us see how we can find the general term of Fibonacci sequence. Okay, kana jechuun maal jechuudha? Fibonacci sequence listing methodidhaan yoo laallu sequensonni isaa kana fakkaatu. Sequensota kana keessatti termii dhibbaffaa utuu barbaanne termii 98ffaa fi 99ffaa irra kan jiru walitti daaneetu termii dhibbaffaa arganna waan ta'eef termii 98ffaa fi 99ffaa irra kan jiru kana beekuu qabnaa jechuudha. Termii dhibbaffaa utuu barbaanne. Kanaaf termii dhibbaffaa kana argachuudhaaf 98ffaas argachuudhaaf 97ffaa fi 96ffaa beekuu waan qabnuufi hunda isaa tarreessuun nurraa eegama jechuudha. Kanaaf haala salphaa ta'een argachuudhaaf maal gochuutu nurraa eegama? General termii yookiin immoo general formula Fibonacci sequence kana barbaaduu qabna jechuudha. Fibonacci sequence formula recurrence relation formula dhaan yoo ibsamu f of n is equal to f of n minus 1 plus f of n minus 2 dhaan ibsama jechuudha. That means when we express any sequence within recurrence relation, we have to use the previous one or more terms of the sequence. Kana jechuun maal jechuudha? Recurrence relation yookiin recurrence formula kanaan ibsuudhaaf sequence kamuu termii isa jalqabaa tokko yookiin immoo tokko ol fayyadamuu qabna jechuudha. Termii ittaanu himuudhaaf termoota duraan turan tokko yookiin sanaa ol fayyadamuu qabna jechuudha. Recurrence relation dhaan ibsuudhaaf. Kanaafi Fibonacci sequence recurrence relation dhaan yoo ibsamu formulaan isaa kana fakkaata. Garuu general termii kana jechuun fakkeenyaaf f of n is equal to f of n minus 1 plus f of n minus 2 jechuun termoota f of n yoo barbaannu termii n's termii yoo barbaannu termii isaan dura ture tokkoo fi termii isaan dura ture ka biraa tokko walitti hidhaametu termii sana argannaa jechuudha. Kana jechuun fakkeenyaaf termii kana keessatti listing termiidhaan sequencii kenname fi sequencii Fibonacci sequencii kana keessatti yoo ilaallu termii sadaffaa argachuudhaaf termii tokkoffaa fi lammaffaa walitti hidhaanetu termii sadaffaa arganna. Termii arfaffaa argachuudhaaf immoo termii lammaffaa fi sadaffaa walitti hidhuu qabna. Zeen akkaataa kanaan fakkeenyaaf termii kana argachuudhaaf termii isaan dura jiru lamaa walitti hidhaana. Isa kanas argachuuf kana lamaan walitti hidhaana. Kanas argachuudhaaf kanneen lamaa walitti hidhaanaa jechuudha. Haala kanaan termii dhibbaffaa otoo barbaanne termii 98ffaa fi termii 99ffaa walitti hidhuu qabna jechuudha. Termii 98ffaa fi 99ffaa argachuudhaaf akkasuma termii isaan dura jiran lamaan walitti hidhuun dirqama ta'a jechuudha. Kanaaf rakkoo akkasii kana yookiin immoo amma dhibbaatti otoo barbaanne termii dhibbaffaa sana barbaadu otoo barbaanne hunda isaa liisti godhuun nama nuffisiisa. Kanaaf maal gochuu qabna? General termii Fibonacci sequence akkamitti akka barbaaduu dandeenyu laalla jechuudha. Let us see the general terms of Fibonacci sequence. Fibonacci sequence is 1, 1, 1 plus 1, 2, 1 plus 2, 3. We get the term of Fibonacci sequence by adding the previous two terms. Then 2 plus 3, 5. 3 plus 5, 8, 5 plus 8, 13, then 8 plus 13 is equal to 21, 13 plus 21 is 34, 4 plus 21 is 55, and so on. Then when we describe this Fibonacci sequence by recurrence relation, f of n is equal to f of n minus 1 plus f sub n minus 2 when f of 1 is equal to 1 and f of 2 also is equal to 1. N is an element of natural number and n is start from 3 because n1 and n2 is given for us. Then the next one is when n is equal to 3, then we can find the term of Fibonacci sequence by using this formula from n is equal to 3. Then to find the general term of Fibonacci sequence, to find the general formula for nth term of Fibonacci sequence, to find the general term or n's term general term or n's term of Fibonacci sequence let us take f of n. Let us take f of n is proportional with r to the power of n, and f of n minus 1 is proportional with r to the power of n minus 1. F of n minus 2 proportional with r to the power of n minus 2. Then from recurrence relation f of n is equal to f of n minus 1 plus f of n minus 2. F of n is equal to f of n minus 1 plus f of n minus 2. Implies that r the power of n, this is proportional with r the power of n is equal to r the power of r to the power of n minus 1 plus r to the power of n minus 2. Then when we divided both sides by r to the power of n, divided by r to the power of n, divided each term by r to the power of n, r to the power of n. Then implies that this becomes r to the power of n over r to the power of n is equal to 1 is equal to when we give the n's to numerator, they have the same base, therefore we can say r to the power of n minus 1 minus n plus r to the power of n minus 2 minus n. Then this become 1 is equal to r to the power of minus 1 plus r to the power of minus 2. Then when we multiply this by r square, this becomes r square is equal to r to the power of 1, r to the power of 1 plus r to the power of 0, r to the power of 0. This implies that r square is equal to r plus 1. When we move these terms to left hand side, it becomes r square minus r minus 1 is equal to 0. Then this equation is a quadratic equation. Then we can solve for r by using quadratic formula. R is equal to in this quadratic equation, value of a is a coefficient of r square 1, value of b is the coefficient of r minus 1, and the value of c is the constant minus 1. Therefore r is equal to minus b means minus 1 plus or minus b square means minus 1 square plus minus 4 for a means 1, c means minus 1 over 2, a means 2 times a means 1. This becomes 1 plus or minus square root of this is 1 plus minus times minus is plus 4, it becomes 5 over 2. Therefore this quadratic equation has two roots, r1 which is equal to 1 plus square root of 5 over 2 and r2 is equal to 1 minus square root of 5 over 2. Then assume or by assumption f of n is equal to a times r1 the power of n plus b times r2 the power of n. Then we can replace at the place of r1 and r2 the value of r1 and r2. Then we can find value of a and value of b. Then we can get the general terms of Fibonacci sequence when f of n is a Fibonacci sequence. Okay, let us take the initial condition. F when n is equal to 1 from initial condition condition of Fibonacci sequence. F of 1 is equal to, we can take f naught is equal to 0 and f1 is equal to 1 and f2 is equal to 1. Then when we find f naught is 0. 0 is equal to simplify or to find the value of A easily, F naught is equal to 0. Then F naught is equal to 0. We take at the place of n 0. Then by using this formula, f of 0 is equal to 0 A times R1 the power of 0 plus B R2 the power of 0, which is equal to A plus B, which is equal to 0. When we take f of 1 is equal to 1, which is equal to A times R1 the power of 1 plus B times R2 the power of 1 is equal to 1. This is equal to 1. This implies that when we this function A plus B is equal to 1 and A times R1 plus B times R2 is equal to 1. A times R1 means 1 plus square root of 5 over 2 plus B times R2 means 1 minus square root of 5 over 2 is equal to, this is equal to 0. Is equal to 0. When we take this one, A plus B is equal to 0, then A times this is equal to 1. Is equal to 1. Take this as equation 1, this as equation 2. Then let us find the constant A by elimination method. When we multiply the first equation by negative of coefficient of the second equation, that means negative of 1 plus square root of 5 over 2 times the first equation, A plus B is equal to 0. And take the second equation as it is, 1 plus square root of 5 over 2 A plus 1 minus square root of 5 over 2 B is equal to 1. Then when we multiply the first equation with negative of 1 plus square root of 5 over 2, it becomes negative 1 plus square root of 5 over 2A, then minus 1 plus square root of 5 over 2B is equal to 0. And the second equation is as it is, 1 plus square root of 5 over 2A plus 1 minus square root of 5 over 2 over 2 over 2 B is equal to 1. Is equal to 1. Then when we add these two equations, then this is eliminated each other. Then this becomes, this implies that negative 1 minus square root of 5 over 2 B plus 1 minus square root of 5 over 2 B is equal to 0 plus 1, 1. Then when we distribute this or when we take B as a common factor, negative 1 minus square root of 5 over 2 plus 1 minus square root of 5 over 2 times B is equal to 1. When we take B as a common factor, then we can take 2 as a common, least common denominator. Then negative 1 minus square root of 5 plus 1 minus square root of 5 times b is equal to 1. Then 1 is omitted by this one because this is negative and this is positive, it becomes 0. Then implies that negative square root of 5 plus negative square root of 5. It becomes negative 2 square root of 5 over 2 b is equal to 1. Then implies that negative root of 5 b is equal to 1. Then divided both sides by negative square root of 5, negative square root of 5. Then b is equal to negative 1 over square root of 5. Then from equation 1, from equation 1, a plus b is equal to 0. This implies that a is equal to negative of b. Therefore a is equal to negative of value of a, negative 1 over square root of 5, which is equal to positive 1 over square root of 5. Then we can replace the value of a and the value of b in this equation. That let us take this as a star equation. Then when we replace value of a at the place of a, value of r1 at the place of r1, and value of b here and value of r2 here, we can get the general form of the general formula of, or the general terms of Fibonacci sequence. Then f of n is equal to, at the place of a, 1 over square root of 5 times, at the place of r1 means 1 plus square root of 5 over 2 as we get before, the power of n plus b means negative of 1 over square root of 5, therefore it becomes minus 1 over square root of 5 times r2 means 1 minus square root of 5 over 2, the power of n. Therefore this is a general terms of Fibonacci sequence. Kana jechuun maal jechuudha? Kuni akkaataa kanaan gatii a jalqaba assume jennee isa kana erga fudhannee booda bakkee tokko isaanii bakka a value a buusnee bakka b value b buusnee r1 fi r2 immoo jalqaba waan arganneef bakka isaanii kana yoo lakkoofsota kana buusne general termii Fibonacci sequence kana ni argannaa jechuudha. Kana jechuun bakka n waan otoo galchine f1 argachuu qabna jechuudha. f1 keenya meeqa? 1 dha. Fibonacci sequence keessatti Fibonacci sequence yeroo tarreessinu akkamitti kaa'ama? 1 1 2. Kana jechuun maal jechuudha? Fibonacci sequence jalqabni isaa 0 dha jennee otoo fudhannee sinta 0 plus 1 in 1 dha. 1 plus 1 2, 1 plus 2 3, 2 plus 3 5, 3 plus 5 in 8, 5 plus 8 30 jecha waan deemuuf akkaataa kanaan termii dhibbaffaa argachuu otoo barbaanne dirqama termii 98ffaa fi 99ffaa beekuun nurraan eegamu jechuudha. Salphumatti maal gochuu ni dandeenya? f of 100 is equal to 1 over 5 times 1 plus square root of 5 over 2 the power of 100 minus 1 over square root of 5 times 1 minus square root of 5 over 2 the power of 100 jennee termii dhibbaffaa kana argachuu ni dandeenya jechuudha. Akkaataa kanaan general termii kanatti fayyadamnee termii dhibbaffaa yookiin immoo baay'ina hamma barbaanne haa ta'u sana termii sana argachuu ni dandeenya jechuudha. Osoo termii isa jalqabaa fayyadamuu nun barbaachisan jechuudha. Kana jechuun maal jechuudha? This is a general terms of Fibonacci sequence.